Here we go. Everybody, happy Wednesday. It's the TED Show, episode 19, and I have my friend, and we're not going to say health expert guru, but that's what I think of you as, Russ Scala, who
How you doing, folks?
I met through our mutual friend, Tori Eisenman, and I'm not sure if she's on at this point. And I don't have Charnel right at this moment, so you're going to have to bear with me until I find the video. But what I find fascinating about Russ, what I love about Russ, is that he is researching all of the things that all of us are Googling. All of us are going on to Google and going, okay, I don't want to hear what my physician has to say. I don't want to do this fad diet again because I gained all the weight back. I don't want to take all of these vitamins and supplements because Google tells me that most of those are fillers. And so everything that you promote on your site, at your institute, at Scala Precision Health, right?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
that's what everybody's talking about. And so I thought about it. I'm like, I need to get a health expert on here, and you were the first person I thought of. So we had a fantastic conversation right before this. And give me a second because I'm bringing up the stuff. Hey, Donald, how are you? Hey, Eileen. So I could talk to Russ for hours, and a lot of you have emailed me questions, which I appreciate, and we're going to get to as many of those as we can, and feel free to interact and ask Russ questions. But let's start. So you've got the Institute for Cancer and...
It's nutritional medicine, cardiovascular
That's
research.
it, cardiovascular. And then the Russ Scala Precision Health.
Scala Precision Health.
So
exactly.
tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll get to the questions, because I've got a ton. Oh, is it me? They can't hear the audio. Uh-oh. So that's good. Thank you, Eileen. Let's turn it up. Hold on. Good, you can keep talking. Eileen, can you hear us now? This is our $4 show. Let's see. All right, so people are joining. Hello, Sharon. Eileen, can you hear me? You can keep talking. That's what you get here. Oh, I can hear you fine. Thank you. All right, we're good. So go ahead and tell them a little bit about you and how you got into this.
Okay, real quick, folks. My family's always been involved in medicine. My uncle was a pediatrician in Winter Park, got me a job in Winter Park Hospital when I was in high school. I watched in the emergency room these people come together and save lives, and I said I wanted to do that. So I became one of the first paramedics in Orlando and did that for about 15 years, and that led me to becoming a SWAT team member. So I kind of watched how stress damages your body over time, and it was damaging my body. I didn't realize it. In my 20s, I thought I was bulletproof. Well, then after about 15 years, I stopped that, and I wanted to do more research. So I started studying triathletes. I became a triathlete. I became an endurance athlete, and I wanted to know why all these athletes were still heavy after all the mileages they were running. Why were athletes having heart attacks? And so that was my evolution. From there, I started working at research labs. I traveled to the best research labs in the country and finished my master's degree at Rollins just to do work on the aging workforce. So with my basic skill set of understanding physiology, I kind of evolved into performance enhancement and then to the age management arena, if that makes sense.
Sure, and I think one of the things, I told you earlier, I love this topic, and I talked with a lot of people about it. It is kind of an interesting thing when you hear about triathletes or I watch some of them, and they don't look healthy to me. And that could just be their body, but they don't look like they're skin and bone or zero body fat. And then there's a lot of people who die on the tennis court, die on the treadmill.
Right.
These are the jokes I sort of make, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but I'm like, that's something I'll never die of. I'll never die on a treadmill because it's just not part of who I am. But I do find the research fascinating.
Well, and here it is. I was on the SWAT team. We were drinking too much. My community, I didn't want to be around that community. So I always tell people, show me your 3 friends and I'll show you your health, right? Your 3 best friends.
I like that.
So I needed to shift my community. So I moved over to a group of triathletes. I was getting up in the morning, swimming, racing, and then, you know me, I was studying my body and doing blood work. I said, okay, if I could swim a mile, I want to swim 2 miles. And I wasn't really into the racing. I was into understanding my physiology. And I go, well, let me set my goal on mile-and-a-half Ironman. And then let me study these endurance athletes. I was running blood work in 96. I was racing all over the country. And then it started damaging my body. And then I started going, wait.
So how did you know it was damaging your body?
Well, I would have post-race depression after a large race, which nobody talks about. I had a cardiac arrhythmia that 5 cardiologists couldn't figure out. I wasn't sleeping at night. My libido was in the toilet. I had muscle wasting.
And you attribute that to what?
Because I was training too much.
Overtraining?
Yeah, I was elevating my cortisol levels. I was suppressing my thyroid, my testosterone levels, and my growth hormone levels. So, who knew? And then here's the mind. Here's how it messes with your mind. It took me 10 years to be a top cyclist, and then I had to stop and change my community again. It was lonely. I'm like, God, there goes all these people riding down the road, and I can't do that. So I had to find something else. So
wow.
I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and but it did help me get out of that community of police officers, emergency workers, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, that, the physicians, nurses, and my coworkers that have committed suicide. And
sorry.
I mean, I've watched all that. So that's why I'm able to help troops coming back from Iraq now. That's why I can develop high-level brain treatment protocols, which I've done. Now, it's not me. I've got a laboratory with about 20 PhDs. I got a pharmacy that's really big.
So talk to them about that.
Yeah,
Tell them about how that works, because obviously, you said it earlier, you're not an MD.
No, not at all.
But your research has brought you to a level where you have a whole bunch of people who respect what you do, and you've brought on a ton of people who have the science and the same background as you do as far as your thought process.
Well, let's take a page from Eric Topol's book here. This is The Patient Will See You Now.
I love the title of that, The Pace You Will See.
The Patient Will See You Now. So Eric Topol, doctor from the Cleveland Clinic, let's take a page out of his book, basically explains what I'm doing. He says people are going to form networks on social media, run their own lab work, cure their disease, and do their own research, all without a physician involved. Now that's happening in real time right now.
Well, I think everybody's a Google MD right now, or at least they think they are. But what's great about now is that we've actually got more real information out there. Right. You have to sift through it, which is one of the things I posted. But there is an ability to go through there and go, you know what? I'm going to demand. It's empowering. You want to demand more out of your treatment or what they're trying to tell you.
Right. And medicine. Listen, medicine is. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, folks. We're 37th in the world in healthcare. Iatrogenic deaths, which means, and you can Google this, death caused by the healer is the third leading cause of death in the United States from medical malpractice and people overdosing on medications. Folks, we are all biochemically unique. Okay, we are all biochemically unique. That means one medication, one diet, one nutritional supplement isn't going to work for everybody. And medicine compartmentalizes diabetes, dementia, heart disease, and obesity in separate sections. They all have a drug for that, a monotherapy. But if you think about this, folks, just think about this. Stay with me. Diabetes, heart disease, dementia, and obesity all have a couple of things in common, a sweeping generalization. It's high insulin and inflammation. So if we had a doctor here in town or a place that we could go to that focused on balancing out insulin levels and knocking out that inflammation, we have a preventative medicine program for all the big four.
Sure.
But nobody's doing that. And the doctors that I talk to, God love them, man, they go, Russ, I got to see 30 people a day, man. I love what you're doing, but I have no time for it.
Well, because the health insurance world is driving that.
Right, exactly.
So they're not able to have the freedom that they had before. And so even if they're coming to the other side and realizing that how they were traditionally trained isn't necessarily the answer to everything, they're still fighting against the big insurance companies.
Exactly. So now people are empowering themselves and running their own lab work and forming communities and getting answers that they're not going to get from their physician. And listen, folks, nutrition plays a big part of this. All the testing that I do with my docs in Winter Park, we don't, the testing that we do is not offered in traditional medicine. We do advanced nutritional testing. We look at you on a cellular level. We look at your intestinal flora. We look at your brain chemistry. So many people are diagnosed with depression, and depression and bipolar, those are labels. The psychiatric community has been treating the head without the body for years, and we know there's other multiple systems. A woman's thyroid and a man's testosterone levels have a lot to do with dopamine levels in the brain, but it's never looked at. It's here. Here, take an SSRI, take Prozac, Paxil, or Zoloft,
take an anxiety med, and now you become the walking wounded.
Right.
You're breaking down internally, and you never get to to find out the cause of this. So I don't like giving people labels. I mean, you can imagine, I work with everybody from, heroin addicts to professional athletes and folks that need to get out of the railroad tracks. So we have a diverse treatment protocol that's customized to the individual.
I think it has to be. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
What's good for me isn't necessarily good for you.
Exactly.
And so you have to do all of the tests. But what we were talking about earlier is people just want the immediate fix, a pill. First of all, they want you to tell them they don't have to exercise. They want you to tell them that they can eat anything they want. And talk a little bit about the carb and how that's all changing in AMA and
okay, folks, let's take a page from the evolutionary biologists. They've been studying cultures for 100,000 years, and even we have true hunters and gatherers around here today. So on a cellular level, our body and our brain is a hybrid engine, and what we're learning now is your brain and your heart function better on fat, and that's hard for people to get their head around. But when you burn body fat, you release something called a ketone. It's called beta-hydroxybutyrate. It's used by the brain and the heart more efficiently. So by telling somebody they need more fat in the diet, guess what the American cardiology community is going to say? They're not, but on a cellular level, listen. On a cellular level, when DNA unzips, you need essential fatty acids, essential amino acids. There's no essential carbohydrates. But here's the hook. Everybody is addicted to the carbohydrates, so you got to go slow. You got to go slow. It's poor man's Prozac. So I'm not the food Nazi. I'm not, I don't tell anybody to stop drinking. I just kind of...
He wouldn't be on the show, actually, if that was the discussion.
I help people. You listen, I go switch from beer to vodka. You'll keep your insulin levels down. Now, my doctors get upset with that, but going back to the drinking man's diet in the 1950s, that's how the guys lost weight. By drinking liquor and keeping their insulin levels down.
I was born in the wrong decade, apparently.
So we try to, all kidding aside, it's empowering people with the knowledge to take control of their health. Like I said, when I took people to the nursing homes, and then 25 years later, I was working at anti-aging centers from Boca Raton and Beverly Hills, I saw people in their 70s and 80s still with that gleam in their eye. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Correct.
So back in 2004, I was studying how hormonal replacement therapy and nutrition affected the brain and affected the heart and helped with our longevity and muscle wasting. How do we maintain muscle as we age? Because if you maintain muscle as you age, you're not going to get osteoporosis. So when I see a woman come by me in a restaurant on a walker and she takes 5 minutes to go by me, I developed a muscle wasting program. I'm like, why can't this lady get any help? So I developed a muscle wasting program. Folks, I put it up on the Russ Scala YouTube channel. I created that channel so people can educate themselves in like 3 minutes, and some of them are boring, but I created that channel so, based on Eric Topol's book, The Patient Will See You Now, because if I educate the people to ask their tough questions when they're face-to-face with their doctor, then they may not be taken down the wrong road, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So what's the YouTube? They just have to...
Yeah, if you go to Russ Scala, type my name in YouTube.
SCALA.
Yeah, RUSSSCALA. I got about 100 videos up there that I've been adding over the years on topics that may be able to help you. Here's one. As we get older, women and men become estrogen dominant. Our estrogen levels go up. So it doesn't matter how much you're dieting. If your estrogen levels up, you're not going to burn body fat. So, I tell people, let's talk about estrogen dominance. The environmental toxins...
Nobody talks about that.
Well, environmental toxins are estrogenizing all of us, okay? So, again...
That's why I'm wearing a crown more often, Kat. I see you're on here, Kat Brower.
No, I'm just saying, and these are things, I try to drip the science on the people slowly so they could get that aha moment. Whether your kid's getting put on an ADHD drug or somebody is getting put on a cholesterol-lowering medication. Cholesterol surrounds every lipid bilayer and every cell in the body. That whole paradigm is completely wrong.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that, because a couple of things, and I'll just personalize it. So I had elevated, I wouldn't say high, but elevated cholesterol. The doctor 10 years ago put me on something like Lipitor or one of those, but it kept hitting my liver.
Okay, cool. Are you ready?
So yes, please.
So I traveled to the Dalai Lama. Dr. Kenneth French was the chief lipid science officer that worked for a company called Athrotech that developed the VAP test, the vertical auto profile. Folks, think about cholesterol as a big beach ball. It tells us nothing. There's a little hard marble of cholesterol
called lipoprotein A. It's called lipid subfractionalization. Regular cholesterol testing doesn't tell us anything. And just remember this. Cholesterol is the one ingredient that makes estrogen, pregnenolone, testosterone, cortisol. Cholesterol is needed to make all the hormones in your body. So once you put somebody on a cholesterol-lowering drug, you start to lower all their hormones in the body that protect their heart and their brain. Hey, now a NASA flight surgeon wrote a book, Dr. Gravine, a NASA flight surgeon wrote a book called Lipitor, The Thief of Memory. We know that these statin drugs, these cholesterol-lowering drugs, damage the mitochondria in the brain on a cellular level. Again, this is on the Russ Scala YouTube channel. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, folks. Google it. If cholesterol surrounds every lipid bilayer on every cell in our body, and cholesterol is one ingredient that makes all our hormone levels up, how could it be bad? So I'm a student of medicine. You go back to Ansel Keys that said heart attacks were caused by cholesterol in the 1960s, I believe. He was completely wrong. So now the high-fat diet is becoming real popular. There's different cardiologists around the world that say, listen, let's come clean. Let's say we got it wrong. You know, so this is some of the stuff.
The association, AMA, and any association like it, they don't like to admit they're wrong. It's like, yeah, it takes a lot to steer that boat in a different direction.
And again, I don't listen. I mean, a lot of my friends are doctors. I've got doctors on this program that I helped them get out of the railroad tracks. Listen, we all drank the Kool-Aid when it came to this stuff, and it's $1 billion industry. And you're right, you know. I mean, you know, but it's changing, and this is why I say people are making a change. People vote 3 times a day with their fork. That's powerful. Look what Morgan Spurlock did to McDonald's with the handheld video.
Oh, the 30-day or the...
No, he supersized me.
Supersized me, yes.
Yeah, so what are you doing right now with your show? I mean, you're doing the same thing.
I'm working on it.
Well,
thank you.
No, I'm just saying you're putting information in people's hands. That's.
So Michael Maple wants to know, hey Michael, hey Russ, do you believe that no one should be on prescription medications, particularly antidepressants and anti-anxiety?
Yeah, well, okay, listen, if you can remember this and Google this, the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, we need to treat that axis. I know that certain antidepressants help people get over a bridge, but remember, depression, anxiety is caused from low neurotransmitter levels that may come from low thyroid function, low testosterone, low adrenal function. I work with war vets that come back from Iraq. I work with emergency medical workers that were on the streets with me. Any kind of stress elevates cortisol, and cortisol suppresses your HPA-G axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal gonadal axis. So if you Google that, Google the HPA-G axis and then put depression right after that, it'll show you exactly what I'm talking about, that antidepressants should be a bridge, and then you need to correct your metabolic deficiencies to improve your mood. A lot of the troops coming back from Iraq right now, we're getting them on T3, thyroid T3 that's elevating serotonin levels. This is a natural occurring substance in our body, thyroid hormone, that gets suppressed when they're in the war zone. So now we could correct them with a little bit of thyroid and not put them on, you know, an SSRI or an SSNRI. And I'm not shooting this stuff down because I know a lot of you folks are taking it, and I don't want to scare you either. But there's other things that we can do. And you cannot just quit these drugs cold turkey. You got to be careful.
Sure. Yeah, you know? He's not suggesting that.
Not at all.
You have to figure, if you're on it, like I'm on omeprazole. Is that something? So every article I've read recently is how bad that is for me. Like
we just talked about. Your intestinal tract is your second brain. If your intestinal tract is out of balance, it's called the microbiome. Billions of dollars are going into studying the microbiome right now. Your gut is connected to your brain. Your gut makes neurotransmitters. Why don't we balance out your gut first and slowly wean you off that med?
I agree. No, and I believe that. Every article I have read recently, even the ones coming out in some of the medical journals, are saying that this is not the place that we should be. It's actually causing more harm for a lot of people than good. I mean, it definitely helped me. I don't have the same acid reflux, but what am I trading that for? And that's what we don't think of when we're taking the pill. It's the immediate fix, and we're not thinking about what that's going to impact us down the line.
Well, if you got acid reflux, what I do with you right away was, let's and I know it's a pain in the ass, but let's keep a food log and let's rotate food out of your diet. Because basically,
he only said food, people.
Yeah,
he didn't say wine.
No, whatever's causing your acid reflux, you may have a food allergy to, and not know it.
That's true.
So something simple, you know.
Misty said, "Hey, Misty, thank you. the number one side effects from depression meds are suicide and depression.
Big time. Yeah.
That's awesome. So inflammation too, and we're already at 20 minutes. So inflammation, talk about that, because that seems to be the source of a lot. You said the gut is the second brain, so there's inflammation in there, and that can come from anything. It depends on your body. Back to the bio-unique.
Yeah, everybody's biochemically unique, and one of the inflammation markers is the blood test, folks, called C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein can tell whether there's any inflammation going on in your body. In fact, what really damages your arteries and leads to heart attacks is more inflammation and elevated insulin than cholesterol. You see, that's the new paradigm.
Interesting.
Right. So inflammation is something that we have to be aware of. Okay. Your diet and antioxidants and vegetables in your diet help with the inflammation response. They're actually called pro-inflammatory cytokines. Inflammation is involved with cancer, diabetes, and dementia. Think about this, folks. If you cut an apple in half and that apple gets brown, and the other side of the apple you spray with lemon juice and it doesn't get brown, that's the antioxidants protecting something called oxidative stress.
Very cool.
I've got that on the Russ Scala YouTube channel as well. So oxidative stress not only makes our skin age, but it makes our brains and our artery age. So you cut that apple in half, the part of the apple gets brown. When you get the right amount of vegetables and antioxidants, you prevent oxidative stress.
So what about this? You mentioned antioxidants, and the first thing I think of is, all right, we all take all of these supplements. There's a million companies out there that produce them. People are buying them either at, I'm not going to name the places, but you can buy them at your drugstore. They buy them online. They buy them from network marketing companies. I mean, there are some that I like, but I'm still not sure about the research. And how do you know that when you go buy vitamin C or an antioxidant somewhere, that it's not all fillers? Is there a way for us to maneuver through that?
That's a great question. I partner with some of the best labs in the country that does advanced nutritional testing, so you only take what you're deficient in. And internally, let's see if I can make this easy. Internally, you got your own internal antioxidant system. It's called catalase, superoxide, dysphenase, and glutathione. Glutathione is something that protects us from cancer. That our internal antioxidant system is supported by our outside ACE and selenium. Like you're playing cards, think about aces, ACE and selenium. So I'd rather see you get that from food than a synthetic supplement. So with my clients and my patients that my doctors are trained to see, we clean up their intestinal tract so they pull nutrients out of real food. This is real important. If you're not pulling nutrients out of food, you will mine nutrients from your own muscle, tissue, and bone as you age. So at night when Ted goes to sleep, level 4 REM sleep, and your body goes into regeneration mode, if your intestinal tract is out of balance, you're not getting nutrients, bang, it starts taking out your own muscle. Make sense?
Wow. Yes.
Physiologically, that's how the body works.
Wow. So you have, that's scary for me. We're going to leave Ted for a minute and just move on to generic.
Okay.
So how does somebody, like, there's some questions about, what about weight loss supplements? What about all the things that are out there? How do they figure out how to get to the right kind that's right for them? They really need to go in for, and I'm not saying this is not a push for you to go into Russ, although I think all of us should. But how do they do it? How do they maneuver through it? They can't do it on their own.
Okay, folks, here's a sweeping generalization, and I'm available. I do consults all the time.
We'll give the information at the end about that.
I answer questions on Facebook every night for about 2 hours. And, folks, wrap your head around this, okay? The ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting impact more cellular metabolic pathways than any drug on the market. But these things have to be done right. And I'm going to be making some videos on the Russ Scala YouTube channel that's going to train you how to do this. So when I leave here today with Ted, think about intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet. That will impact more metabolic pathways than any drug on the market. Now, this is what's really interesting. The cancer treatment protocol is about to change big time. Dr. Tom Siegfried, Dominic D'Agostino out of South Florida, they're studying the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting, and they're graphically monitoring with imaging metastatic cancer, and they're stopping the cancer in their tracks because these guys understand cancer is a metabolic disease, it's not a genetic disease. This is fascinating.
Wow.
Now, you know, the cancer industry, the billion-dollar industry with their chemotherapy, I mean, we're in the middle. I gave Ted an example. Remember when Blockbusters had 5,000 locations and they didn't see Netflix coming? Okay,
right.
What I do is Netflix. The people that I'm partnering with, we're Netflix. The medical community is Blockbuster Video.
Right. They're not seeing it. Although, at some point, the public, I think because of the power of social media and the demand and the fact that there are facts out there that we can access, like this says, the patient will see you now, they're demanding that they have alternatives and that they get better information instead of the regular 50, 60-year-old standby.
Well, when I was a paramedic and I took people into nursing homes, I would go to the refrigerator, get their insulin, look in the refrigerator, I would see, white bread, orange juice, and milk, and I would take these people, lift them up out of their bed, put them on a stretcher, and I'm thinking, Jesus, this is unbelievable. And then 25 years later, I'm seeing 60 and 70-year-olds with muscle mass doing their hormonal replacement therapy, and I'm like, this is like watching that movie Cocoon.
Right.
I'm like, why isn't this, out there? So all my research on the physiology that I started out as a paramedic, and all the research that I do now, like, I sat down next to two leading neurologists when I developed a brain rehab protocol from a gentleman that had a traumatic brain injury. And I was like Luke Skywalker. I wanted to take notes from these guys. Well, what we developed, they said, was so far out on the tip of the spear that, they said their practices were too conservative for this. Listen, we knew the brain, our brain continues to grow until we die. We didn't know that without imaging a few years ago. Now we know our brain releases brain-derived neurotropic factor that stimulates neurogenesis, the development of new brain tissue. So the whole paradigm is changing. And guess what? Testosterone and growth hormone, the same PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs that are outlawed, are the drugs that are going to be needed to rehab NFL players and our war vets. How about that for something ironic?
Wow.
Right? I mean, and I didn't develop this. This is what's being done for the people that are out there.
But it's definitely because there's a demand for not going with status quo. Don't you think? I think you all are pushing the envelope, and I think this general public is also pushing the envelope.
I tell people all the time, you vote 3 times a day with your fork. I said, you're biochemically unique. So if all your neighbors are on a diet, remember, it's like trying to find a dial on the old radio station. You got to dial your health in. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and the doctors only have 10 minutes with you. So I'm sorry it's this way, folks, but you got to drill down for you and your family members. You got to protect you and your family and get the research, real research, and put it into your hands. And don't have icon intimidation. Just because you walk into the Mayo Clinic doesn't mean they're going to have all the answers. I've gotten clients from the Mayo Clinic.
Right.
I mean, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that's a reality.
No, and I think people need to continue to question, don't you? I mean,
ask questions.
Ask questions. I have many doctor friends, and I think that most of them are leaning toward the thing of, you need to be your own proponent, don't you? You have to be your own advocate. You have to be your own advocate for your family.
Right, with 4,000 hours of training to become a physician, they're not trained in nutrition. Nutrition plays a big role in this. Again, I'm not shooting down doctors. I love those guys. They're in the hamster wheel as well. They're like a paramedic. They die really young. They're under stress. They're in an office all day, having to see 30 people. They're handcuffed by insurance companies. So I'm not shooting down. I'm not shooting them down, but I'm saying the doctors of the future and what we're going to do in our own communities, folks, we're going to empower ourselves. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to run our own lab work. We're not going to just stand for 10 minutes. We're going to take care of ourselves and our family members.
Which I love. All right, so we're already at almost 1:30. So tell them again the YouTube. They need to go ahead and tell them what to do in the website.
Okay, it's the Russ Scala YouTube channel, folks. Just kind of peruse that. If you like one of the videos that are up there, I got everything from the ketogenic diet to clients that I work with, college presidents, professional athletes. I talk about brain injury. I also talk about how you work on a cellular level. I hope it doesn't put you to sleep. And then my website is scalaprecisionhealth.com.
That's awesome. Man, this was great. We have a ton of questions, which, guys, I promise you that Russ will see and that we will get answered. And then I will repost his YouTube link actually later, and I'll post his website. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Everybody was so excited. We had a ton.
I hope I helped.
He's cold because he's got probably 0 body fat, and I'm sitting over here sweating to death. And now this is the part where he gets up and we have the $4 budget. Will you go hit close and finish in that order, please? Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Stay safe, and we'll keep you posted. And then finish down in the bottom right. Other right.